Hey, what's up, guys? It's been a while, so I've been busy, been sick, and all of that, but today I got a very special review. I got the AYANEO 3 a couple weeks ago, and I've been playing around with it full time, and yeah, let's go and get started. If you guys don't know, I'm Jay. I do product reviews, travel vlogs, and just try to do more visual storytelling. That's kind of where I'm working towards too. And so if you guys could help, it'd be great to subscribe, like this video, comment, all that stuff. If you have any questions, I'm always here to answer. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started on this thing. So AYANEO, they're a pretty, they've been around for like what, 5-10 years. And they've been making pretty good products, a bit expensive, and I always looked at them from the sideline and thought, okay, it's a little expensive, the specs are crazy good, but is it really worth it? And when they announced that they were going to do an updated model to their AYANEO 2, basically, it's the AYANEO 3 here, I thought, okay, maybe I'll give this one a try. And then, you know, as most of you guys thought, okay, I saw the price, it's crazy expensive, especially for the model that they want you to buy in a way, because there's 2 different chipsets, 2 different screen types, and then also different storage options. And so there's quite a bit going on in terms of just that pricing structure. And so the one I have here is a 1 terabyte model, has 32 gigs of RAM. It's a OLED display, so it's 144 hertz OLED, 1080p panel, with the Ryzen AI like 370HX is basically the newest chip that you can get from AMD. And so, you know, it's pretty good specs, right? But you see the price, it's like $1,400-$1,500, not including these extra modules that you guys see here. It comes in this case and has a bunch of different options, right? And it even has spares for the original type here. So you can swap back and forth. I actually had already swapped the controllers already because I like kind of the circle D-pad rather than a standard one. And so, you know, yeah. So you see right there, logged in. So the Indiegogo campaign was pretty smooth for the most part. Communications were pretty good. They didn't really, you know, they told us whenever things were changing, all that stuff, and all the tariffs this year has been kind of weird. But luckily, this device kind of got in before all that stuff is happening right now as of this recording. And so for me, you know, was able to get it. However, I did get it a little bit when I was on travel for vacation. And so, yeah, but, you know, had time to play around. So you see right now, I do have Windows on it. You can't really do Bakelite because there's not a lot of support for all the hardware layers here. So these special, you know, things that come out, the modules. So it is running Windows. You can't really tell until I do something like this. You can tell now it's Windows, right? You know it's Windows. You press this button here. There's their IS-based button, dedicated button there. So it gives you sort of the side panel kind of a la Steam Deck, and it has performance. You can change the performance, the fan speed, all that stuff. So I'm not going to go too in-depth into that, but let me know if you guys want a video for that. I can, you know, set up another video. So turn on RGB just for funs. So you can do the magic modules and then one-click pop-up. You can pop it up. Boom. They come off, and you know, you could swap it off with something else. So you see it, I don't know if you guys heard that, but Windows kind of detected, hey, something detached, and so I'm gonna make a noise for it. So we could, you know, put something else on here. And it's nice that they come with this carrying case, basically, to, you know, put it on. So let's do this. Put that in there, and then let's pick. Well, let's go with a fighting stick, right? This is maybe a better fighting stick, so let's go with this guy here. Push it in. It's kind of weird. There's no like automated process for that. You kind of just like push it in. So it's a little weird at first because like I'm not sure if I'm gonna break it or anything like that. So that's where it's a little bit interesting. Like some of the stuff is very premium. Obviously the case, the finish, everything is very premium, but it's just like little things like that kind of makes me, okay, like, am I gonna break it or anything like that? So that being said, okay, so cool, things work. You can, so I actually, you see that? I accidentally clicked that one pop-up. So you see the software is not quite there. I was trying to press B, right, to go back, but I actually pressed the button there. So, you know, it actually ejected both these modules. So you kind of have to get used to it. So you press it in, cool. I'm just gonna press the AYA button there and then get back, and you see it works normal. Everything's good. And as you guys notice, I've been playing this Expedition 33. It's a pretty fun game. So yeah, while we're doing that, I just want to give you guys a quick tour of the device itself. I feel like that's probably important, right? And so you can see there, we have a bunch of ports. We have a Thunderbolt 4 USB-C connection there. You have your, you have a Oculink port on top. So you can connect a eGPU if you want to. I don't plan on really doing that, but it's nice to have the option. You have a volume up and down right there. And then on the very last section here, you have a power button / fingerprint sensor. So you use that to log in. I hope you guys saw that earlier. You have fan exhaust on this right side here. You have these extra buttons here, RC and LC. It's really nice actually to have it up here, rather than like have a second set in the back, which you guys do see there's a second set in the back. These are really easy to get to, really easy to press. Yeah, really nice. Trigger buttons, pretty good travel. They feel pretty good. The bumpers also feel pretty good, easy to accessible, all that stuff. You know, face buttons, you can swap it out whichever ones you want. You can actually swap the buttons themselves to wherever format you want, a Nintendo Switch format, you want it to have Xbox format, you can do pretty much whatever you want there. Talk about more about the face. Obviously you have your left and right controls there. You have this button here. Basically it brings up the kind of like pause menu, whatnot. So in this case it brings up, it's your home button basically. Or Xbox, you press the X button in the middle, right? Sony, same thing. Here you have your, these are kind of like start and select also. So it's kind of interesting how this all works, but when you're in the game you use these, and then outside the game you can use this, right? It brings up the Steam thing, so, you know, yeah. This minimizes everything as far as Windows is concerned, so yeah, if you wanted to access Windows, easy way to do that. On the bottom, you do have a mode switcher. This kind of switches the, so the button down here just kind of controls the control scheme for Windows. Basically, you can kind of make these controls into like a mouse. So if you had this one right here, this capacitive touch right here, you can make this into a mouse and use it on Windows and stuff. So you kind of make this a laptop in a way. It's kind of interesting. I personally haven't used it like that very much, if at all. But I know it exists. I just kind of tested it. But you can configure these in the IS space side panel menu there. You guys saw earlier. So you also have a another USB-C port. So you can do that. Plug in each whatever way you want to. So that's really nice. Right here, you do have a really nice micro SD card slot cover. Look at that. Very fancy. Definitely unnecessary in the sense that, do I really need to do that? Do you really need to do that? But clean, super clean. I appreciate it, especially paying, you know, over $1,000 easily for this. Headphone jack, really nice, well placed. I do actually like it on the bottom rather than on top, just for the way the cables are kind of lining up. But yeah, so yeah, you could also tell like the device itself is very functionally, you know, well laid out. But more importantly for me, I hate screws, and you see there's no screws on the back. It's very clean, very minimal. Obviously you have the fan here. You also have these hair triggers. You can convert these to basically digital triggers, right? So really nice. Really easy to switch them. If you play FPS games, it's really great for that. You see there's screws on the bottom right here, but they're black, they're color matched, super clean. I don't know, I guess I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's more or less the device tour. You see that the fingerprint, I noticed that it's kind of jank. All right, so I'm gonna eject these guys again. So you go here, click the pop-up button. Technically, I didn't need to do both, but just did both just to kind of show you guys again. So I'm gonna put this back on. You see so you can see on the bottom here, it has AYANEO branding there, and it has these pogo pins. Nothing crazy. You can see that on this side, it does have both sides as connected, so you can actually swap between either or if you really want to. It's basically over-engineered in a sense, but it basically accounts for almost every single possibility. So I'm gonna close this back up. Don't need this for now, put this on the side. Let's talk about one thing here is the kind of the hand grip. I think that's always important. Just hand feel, things of that nature are really important for gaming, especially with a handheld like this. And I'm holding it right now. It's a little bit heavy, definitely. You can definitely feel the heft to it. It's more of like a dense heft, especially towards the middle of the device. But when you hold it, you got these really nice grips, really wide. You see that right here, flares out a little bit. Pretty thick, really. So these might not be great for smaller hands. I noticed that grips that are really big like this, they're exaggerated. They're not great for people with smaller hands, I find. Obviously, I don't have smaller hands. I have larger hands, but these are great for me. They feel perfect. They don't feel as heavy, especially when I had the Odin 2 Portal. Like, I use that thing, it's so thin. You have to get a grip. And I don't like having grips on my devices, just extra stuff to kind of put on, and just kind of aesthetically doesn't make the device look as good, in my opinion. And so that's why I don't really do that stuff. But yeah, this feels great. The buttons are pretty good size. They're not like full size, they're almost full size, I think, controller buttons, but the sticks are really good, good travel, all that stuff. Nothing crazy here. So let's boot up a game. So I did want to mention one thing, that with the tiering and everything like that, the Magic modules aren't included. I think that's a huge negative, a huge turn off too for most people, that yeah, you can't, it doesn't come with it. And kind of like the biggest selling point of the device, sure, you can just play it as it is, just with the base, module, but I would really like for them to just include it and try to find a way to, reduce the price somehow. But the fact that I had to buy both of them to get the full experience is definitely turned off me, and I'm sure other people. Wanted to show that I do have Wukong loaded up and all that stuff. You guys saw that the video there. I did a time lapse real quick just to show. It takes a while to do kind of loading shaders, all that stuff. So you're running games that use UE5 or UE4, it might take a while. And so that's just part of having a PC like this, a laptop basically. It's in a PC handle. So by the way, if you guys didn't already know, I buy my own products, the AYANEO 3 included. And so it would really help me if you guys didn't like and subscribe this video. It really does help me, produce more content like this, and be able to give you guys real reviews without any kind of sponsor or any kind of influence from the company that I'm talking about. All right, so I had to disable the Smart DDP because for some reason it wasn't bringing it to the max wattage that I could do. So now that I had that disabled, you see I do have it set to 30 watts max, extreme profile. And so with that, you can see we are getting 30 frames caps. So it's super smooth for what it is. Obviously, I don't think you can do really 60 frames on most of these AAA titles, especially if it's like something new like this one. But you see, everything works really well, super smooth. I wish it was 60, that'd be great, especially this game in particular requires a little bit more timing with the dodging and parrying. But I mean, the graphics look pretty good. I mean, especially on this 1080p display, it's good enough. This is great, especially like on the plane, and while I want to play any kind of game I want to play, I can kind of just play it, and I can just adjust the TDP based on the game, and you know, I'm good to go. Obviously, it is a PC handheld again, and you know, I can use a smart DTP, but you saw that it doesn't really work as I intended it to, especially for like a game like this. It requires more power, but because it requires more power, it's gonna suck up more power. And I did charge it to max, and now we're already at 55% battery, and that was just me doing updates, not really playing anything. And so, you know, just tells you how much the battery is limited on this thing, and really what you want is something to be plugged in. So if I'm on the plane, I'm gonna have this plugged into my battery bank, so I can just play this without worry, max power, and you know, just basically go with that. This is not really made for kind of on-the-go gaming, in the sense that like I bring it to a park or bring it somewhere and I play. You can do it, but again, you're limited by how much battery it has. So that is the one limiting factor with the AYANEO 3 here. So yeah. All right, so we have Wukong booted up. I wanted to show you guys after the shader compilation. It does take a while. As you guys saw, I just created a time lapse because I didn't want you guys to wait through that. And yeah, it took a while for sure. Maybe like 20-30 minutes or something like that. I didn't really time it, but somewhere around there, I would say. Definitely more than 10 minutes. So at least 10 minutes, I would say. So we're gonna load this up, max TDP, same settings that we had earlier. So just gonna try to max it out as much as we can here. One thing to note is that, I don't know if you guys heard earlier, but the speakers on this device are amazing. They're the best speakers I've ever used on a PC and handheld. I have a Steam Deck, I have the Odin 2 Portal. This thing just blows the other two devices out of the water. Just the dynamic range, the bass, it's good. It's loud sounding, full sounding. So yeah, you see right now we're getting 73 frames, 80 frames. It's super crazy right now. So, and again, I mentioned that this is a 144 hertz display, so it can't get the full, you know, because it is running on a, you know, limited power chipset. So, but you know, maybe some indie games you can definitely get more power out of it. So you see gameplay is super smooth. So for a game like this, for Wukong, it's going to be really great. You have that really good reaction time. You don't have to worry about, oh, I'm playing on for 30 frames and, you know, reaction time and all that stuff. So yeah, no, it's super smooth right now. The colors look great on this OLED panel again. Nothing to really complain about, especially I expect it to be good, right? For the kind of price I'm paying, you expect this device to be just flawless, essentially. And the hardware, for the most part, is flawless. I don't really have any complaints about the hardware. Everything is good. It's mainly for me, it's just the software it's the biggest thing. That's really the limiting factor. You saw some of the B-roll I'll put in later on. You'll see. Oh, so some of the stuff you'll see is like when I hit, you know, this button, right? It brings up the Xbox thing. I can disable it, but it's kind of like, you know, it's not really thought through. They kind of just put Windows on it, and then that was about it. And you see here, it does bring up the Steam menu here, but it's like, look at this. It's not even the right size and everything. And this is using Steam Big Picture mode by default. So that way, you know, I can bring in that kind of console-like experience without having Bazide or some other open source OS there. But yeah, they're speaking here. I don't. So let's go and see if we can find some things to fight real quick, just to give you guys an idea. So right now I do have at about 50% brightness, so we're gonna increase it just a little bit here, like 70%. So all this stuff does factor into, you know, battery, of course, brightness, how much TDP you're gonna suck up, and all this stuff. So yeah, but if you don't have to run Wukong at, you know, 80 frames a second, really, you can, you know, do a little bit lower. But I wanted to kind of just show you guys. Here's a different location, a little bit more green in the forest area. Pretty easy there. You see the graphics look okay. You see it's a little bit muddy with the textures at the low setting, all that stuff. But you know, to be honest, it's not a big deal. Especially you're able to at least play the game. So yeah, parrying, dodging, it's all pretty easy. You just move out of the way and stuff. So, oops. So here, you dodge real quick. Pretty easy there. You know, because the frame rate is pretty stable. You don't have to worry about like stuttering and stuff like that, especially with it at max TDP, 30 watts right now. Again, if you plug it in, you can get 35, so you can get a little bit more power out of it if you want to squeeze it out. But again, you know, drain the battery and all that stuff. Right now, see, we're already at 34% right now. See, let me show you guys. See, 34%. I mean, we went from what, 46 to 34 in like what, 5-10 minutes. So it does go pretty quick. And you just time it correctly, dodge. But yeah, it does, again, drain the battery quite a bit the more TDP you push in. But I think I would rather run it at this kind of rate because it's super smooth. You can dodge everything quicker. Yeah, super smooth. So yeah, so you guys saw some gameplay right there with Wukong and Exposition 33. I kind of just walked around on Exposition, but for Wukong I did play a little bit, just so kind of just showed you you're able to get, you know, really good frames with some of the AAA games. It just depends on, you know, what game it is, how intense it is, and can the chipset handle it. And I would say that just right off the bat that the Steam Deck is not going to be able to, you know, perform as well as the AYANEO 3 just from the chipset itself. It's just more powerful. Steam Deck at this point is a little bit old at this point, and you can't really play all the new titles, which is okay. If you don't want to play that, you can play older games. There's tons of games on Steam, so you can just play, you know, really easy titles to run and stuff like that. So not a big deal, but this is something where, hey, if you want to play more games or the latest games and be able to run it, especially at that 35 watt power TDP. So that allows you to play more of those games and higher graphics rates and all that stuff. And also you have those different modules you can swap out at any point. So fighting game, any kind of game, shooters, you have the capacitive touch just like with the Steam Deck. So you can swap those out to however you like. It's just, again, it's just gonna depend on, you know, the games you wanna play, and that's what determines, you know, you want this device. Because who this device is for? Well, I mean, there's other One X player, there's other devices that kind of have the same chipset, and so why would you go for this versus something else? So I think one of those things is the ergonomic grips are really good on this. The speakers are fantastic for a handheld device, and the fact that you can swap out the modules at any point, say they broke or something like that, that, you know, the sticks are done for, the buttons are bad or something later on, you can always swap out the different modules with the one from the pack there. So I think that's the biggest difference between this and other, you know, devices that's going to use the same chipset this year. And so one thing though I would say that needs improvement is obviously the software is not there at all. Windows is not a good choice for gaming in terms of just the UX UI experience. It's all right. You can kind of get to work with Steam Big Picture, but again, you're using Steam to do that. And for me, I'd rather just have, you know, Steam OS flashed on here, and I'm hoping that AYANEO can, you know, work with their drivers and port it over to Linux, and then just be able to, you know, set all of that up. But, you know, it's a little bit of a challenge because they have to also implement these modules to be able to eject and all that stuff. So I don't know if they're going to put in the time or effort to do that. But overall, I still really love this handheld for what it is. I think it's going to be my main handheld, barring kind of like emulation stuff, which, you know, I've been doing. I've been trying to review this guy to Flip 2 whenever I have a chance. I'm not playing the AYANEO 3, and this guy is, you know, the next up for reviews. So, but if you guys want to see more content like that, make sure you guys subscribe, like this video. It really does help me again. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.